Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and hopefully in this video we will wrap up our construction of the Rocketarium Phoenix model kit. So in the intervening time, it's been painted. I primed it white. I went through the usual fin finishing procedures. So it's got a layer of uh, filler, this stuff, to get rid of most of the graininess. It's also got then some sand and clear coat. That'd be this stuff. I only did one of each, and it did a pretty good job. Probably, that like the default setting should probably be to do two coats every time. But ultimately, I'm pretty pleased with the fins. It's not, the grain isn't obvious pretty much anywhere. There are a couple stray places where you can see it a little bit, but overall, it's pretty good. If there is anything wrong, it's that the paint kind of exacerbates where the CA glue dried somewhat inconsistently in the edge of the part of the fin that I tapered. But overall, it looks pretty good. I'm fairly pleased with it. So, finishing time. Let's move that off for a second. We have three different kinds of decals here. We've got this shiny silver, we've got these blue ones, and we've got a whole bunch of water sides that we will get to much later. But before we worry about that, let's quickly do the parachute. And you, of course, could just tie it directly to the nose cone. Should be fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I prefer using these barrel swivels. This is definitely, these tiny ones I've used periodically, but this rocket's heavy enough and the string here is thick enough that I'm going to go with one of these medium ones. Gather up all the threads. Oops. 2, 3, and I want to pull them not quite taut, but I don't want to have any kinks in them when I do this. All right, so I've gathered them up, and I'm going to bundle them together. The loop here, which is, there we go, is going to go through the eye, the barrel swivel, and then all you got to do is just push it up, and then pull it. I want it at the back end if I can do that, so I'm going to have to kind of there we go, give it a little encouragement. All right, this then, the clasp works like so. Some of these get stuck initially, so it is a good idea to check that it works fine first. This is going to get attached to the nose cone. I'm not going to do that right now. That's definitely like an absolute last thing to do. I actually do intend to paint the rocket one more time, and that is, it's going to be a clear coat, and I'm going to put it over top the decals to protect them. So, time for the decals. Now, the instructions, the Estes instructions when you have decals, it really doesn't say anything. The instructions here are fairly detailed, but they don't show you where to put any of the decals. They describe it in some specificity, but that's perfect. They give you a very nice picture of where everything's going to go, which is fantastic. I love that. It, in fact, even gives you measurements if you want to get them exactly right, which honestly, I'm not going to use because I'm going to eyeball it. It's a lot of work to get these exactly placed, specifically how you want, or how the instructions call for it. It's a scale kit. If you really, really care, then by all means measure it out. It's really hard to place scale decals like using a ruler while you're doing this. But in any event, it also suggests too that when you're working with this guy or the blue ones, you should peel it off and then submerge each strip in a solution of soap and water to make it easier to move the strip after you've applied it. That's a nice suggestion. I'm not actually going to do that, at least not for the silver one, because the silver one just goes right at the edge of the body tube. So that should be easy enough. I am going to, and it peeled off quite nicely too, because I can bend the paper. So I'm not going to take it off entirely yet. I'm going to get it started. Smooth things over a little bit. I'm going to get it started right at the edge. No, really. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of feed it as I go, so taking it off the backing only when I get far enough along to actually need it. And I'm going to try to be very careful to get it as close to the edge as possible, but I definitely don't want it to go over the edge, because then it would be just kind of sitting there in open space. Don't want that either. But overall, you should be able to just rotate the tube, and there we go. All right, so these are self-stick, so there's not really much else we need to do with that. I just pushed it down to make sure that everything was attached nicely. The blue ones, referring back to my picture, and by the way, you can refer, and I did, to the packaging, right? So there's the packaging. That can help you as well. So I've got that off to the side just as a reference. There are 4 blue strips. 2 of them we need to cut up, but let's do the easiest one first. So I'm going to peel off the back here, and I think I am just going to take this one off entirely for a variety of reasons, but convenience probably being the more important. All right, so this one is going to go right above the point where the fins attach. So I'm going to use 2 of the fins as a reference frame, and then just wrap it around, pulling it tight as I go to make sure that it's going to end up perfectly overlapping at the far end. And right now it's really close. Let's see if I can't get it a little bit better. There we go. All right, pretty good. Again, I'm going to smooth this out. This is just a sticker. And while stickers are certainly easier to work with initially, you have kind of a lifespan of how many times you can stick and unstick things before you get yourself into trouble. All right, now the other big blue strip is, according to my instructions, going to go 1.4 inches above this. Now, I could certainly grab a ruler, but I mean, it's decimal. Decimal inches, they're not on a ruler, so it's about 1.5. So I'm going to kind of eyeball it here. So it should be approximately like this far ahead. Really, what's more important, and you could certainly use this as guidance, is you need to have one of these guys comfortably in between the 2 blue stripes. So just so long as I can get that in there and centered, you should, it doesn't really matter. But again, if you're doing this because you love scale rocketry and you really want it to be perfect, then by all means, get a ruler. This one is tougher because I don't have any reference frame. So I could use the fins to tell me if I was putting this on straight. This time, I'm going to have to kind of hope. And it looks like that's pretty good. So it's not quite perfect. So I'm going to try to realign, just drag down a little bit the end here a little bit so that you can't see what I'm doing, but I want it to just come down a little tiny bit so that seam is perfect. Now, these I believe are vinyl, so they do deform a little bit. So you can, if it didn't quite show up perfectly the first time, you can kind of warp it as you go. Just as a reference, that looks pretty good. That fits nicely. And in case I really care, just for precision's sake, I ended up with, let me get my ruler in place here. Looks like I did 1 3/8. Just close enough. Pretty close. It's a little, the distance isn't quite right, but it's not far by much. All right. As for the other ones, The other blue ones, according to this diagram, are going to go in between the fin segments. And that's kind of a problem because they're not cut. So we're going to have to cut them ourselves. And we're also going to have to, get them essentially in the right place. The total distance isn't really given here, which is kind of a problem. I mean, you can add all this stuff up. You have to know how wide that decal is. But it looks like the starting point is just a little bit past where this part of the fin becomes straight. So I'm going to use that as a reference. Now, I have way more blue than I need here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip a bit. And I'm going to snip more than I need. And I'm going to lay it where I want it to go, like so. And I'm going to put it in like that. And then I'm going to grab my hobby knife. And I'm going to be very careful about this because I don't want to cut myself or scratch the paint under. But I'm going to just cut right through that joint. And I should be able to lift there, decal excess off. This is a little too small to fit in there, but I'm going to hang on to that just in case. So I need to make a bunch of these. So I've got 2 strips. I can use about 1/4 of each strip to attempt this. So just so long as I'm not cutting so much that I run out, it shouldn't be an issue, although that was not a particularly straight cut. Let's try that again. There we go. And I'm going to repeat. And again, the back part is significantly farther up from where the flat part ends. So it looks like I should probably put it around here. Same deal. Doesn't quite look flush. Let's try that again. I don't think it was quite perpendicular to the rocket. So make sure it's nice and set in there. Cut across and carefully remove. Okay. All right, so I need to do that a bunch more times. I think, this is surprising, this is the first video I've made that requires multiple steps here, I think, for the finishing process. I'm going to finish doing these off camera, and then we will pick it up with putting the water slide decals on. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next bit.